parole, the new charge, the bail, the warrant, the hold, the
Funk Doctor in the heezy. Fucking, this one looked like a good read. And then it said it was AP, the Associated Press, and they're talking about this. So, like, I had to read it. And, man, this is good shit. This is good stuff. Because they think they're calling out China, but what they're doing is China's just ahead of us in the blueprint towards the NWO, towards the one world government. So, basically, they want us to be China. And so they're talking about here an American geologist held and tortured by China's state security agents was sentenced to 8 years in prison Monday for gathering data about the Chinese oil industry in a case that highlights the government's use of vague secret laws to restrict business information. And, God, they would just kill to be able to do that here, wouldn't they? In pronouncing Zhu Feng guilty of spying and collecting state secrets, the Beijing #1 Intermediate People's Court said his actions endangered our country's national security. The verdict says Zhu received documents on geological conditions of onshore oil wells and a database that gives the coordinates of more than 30,000 oil and gas wells that belong to China, National Petrocorp, and PetroChina. That information, it said, was sold to IHS, a U.S. consultancy that Zhu worked for, and now known as IHS Inc. It sounds to me like that was his job. They said, here, you're going to do this, you file these stupid documents, and then they turned around and realized something was in one of those documents, and now this dude's going to get fucking burned for it. The sentence of 8 years is close to the recommended limit of 10 for all but extremely serious violations. Now, Zhu is 45 and he's known as a meticulous, driven researcher, but he showed no emotion when the court announced the verdict, and stunning his lawyer and his sister, which is the only family member allowed in the courtroom. I can't describe how I feel. It's definitely unacceptable, Zhu's wife Nan Kang said by telephone, sobbing from their home in a Houston, Texas suburb. So he lives here, works here, got sent there for something, going to jail for 8 years. John Huntsman, the U.S. ambassador to China, attended the hearing to display Washington's interest in the case. So, just because this fucking suit shows up, and he's sitting in on the court, like, waving and shit at his buddies, they're like, oh shit, look, that means they're here. It's some kind of sign. It means that, we're not going to let you just bully people around and be a tyrant, or we're showing up. Like, give us pointers on how to run one of these cases. He left, John Huntsman left without commenting, and the U.S. Embassy issued a statement calling for immediate release and deportation to the U.S. Zhu's sentence punctuates a case that has dragged on for more than 2.5 years and is likely to alarm foreign businesses unsure when normal business activities elsewhere might conflict with China's vague state security laws. Chinese have wide authority to classify information as state secrets. Draft regulations released by the government in April said business secrets of major state companies qualify as state secrets. What? If they did that over here, everyone would be screwed. Because everybody sits around, gets drunk, talks about how shitty work is. The first time you work for a major company, you get employed by like some major telemarketing place, and you're just out telling your buddy, like, oh yeah, dude, we answer calls for like 700 different companies. It's not dedicated call center at all. Ha ha ha. You're gonna go to jail for a long time. They just can't do that. John Cam, an American human rights campaigner whom the State Department turned to help for last year to lobby for Zhu's release, says it's a very harsh sentence. It's a huge disappointment and will send very real shivers up the spines of businesses that do business in China. Agents from China's Internal Security Agency detained Zhu in November 2007, tortured him, stubbing lit cigarettes into his arms in the early days of his detention. His case first became public when AP reported on it last November, so they just gave themselves a big pat on the back. Like IHS, many multinationals have come to rely on people like him to run their China operations. Another China-board foreign national, Australian Stern who worked for the global mining firm Rio Tinto, was sentenced in March to 10 years for bribery and infringing trade secrets that dealt with iron ore sales to Chinese companies. Born in China, Zhu earned a doctorate at the University of Chicago, became a U.S. citizen, and then returning to his native country to work. By all accounts, including witness statements cited in the court verdict, Zhu poured his energies into his work for IHS, trying to gather info on China's oil industry, contacting former schoolmates from his university days in China. I don't know what kind of picture that paints. If they're trying to paint him out as like a spy who's been doing this a while, or, just some jackass they sent to the slaughter. That's his job. That's what he does. He does it well. And then they're like, you know what, we need a patsy or what have you. Or maybe they were actually gleaning state secrets out of this mundane work that he thought he was doing. And there you go. He's going to bite the bullet for it. Two of the three other defendants sentenced with Zhu on Monday were schoolmates. Chen Mengjing and Li Dongzhu, who worked for research institutes affiliated with PetroChina, were each given 2.5-year sentences and fined 50,000 yuan. The other defendant, Li Yongbo, a manager at Beijing Liking Zhongyu Oil Technology Development Company, was sentenced to 8 years and fined 200,000 or 30,000 real dollars, well, green dollars at least. Zhu was also fined 200,000 fake dollars. They don't give you the dollar amount in that. Oh, yeah, they do. Li and Zhu arranged the sale of the database, which was originally prepared by a Chinese Chinese company for sale to PetroChina's parent company, and contained details on the coordinates and volume of reserves for the 30,000 wells. To IHS for $228,500.78. The court's sentencing document said, what frightens me the most about this is that Zhu Weng is, in my experience, a straight-up individual, worked hard, didn't push limits, or ever try to pull a fast one, simply honest and entirely well-meaning, just like I said. Acquiring and redistributing databases, so he was simply doing his job. The court cited the National Administration for the Protection of State Secrets, the NAPOSS, the NAPOS, as saying that the information Zhu received on China National Petro Corp was classified as either secret or confidential. Now, why would they give a low-level geologist a handful of state secrets unless the job was to hand them to someone else? Duh. The court document indirectly acknowledged the difficulties Zhu and IHS would have collecting data in such a restrictive environment. IHS has information exchange agreements with many oil companies, but exchanging info with Chinese is very difficult because China controls energy info relatively secretly. IHS companies' information and data on China are not very complete. The sentencing statement cited one witness as telling the court, oh, okay. So the whole point being that brush up on your business law, get your shit correct, especially if you work for a large company. Make sure you know what you're allowed and not allowed to say, and be ready to lawyer up. Because they've done it here. They've run those kind of court cases here and put people away for supposedly trading secrets. But don't let any company transfer you to China. No way. You don't want to get in trouble there for throwing away the wrong piece of paper, boy. Nobody wants to go to jail in China. No. That's funk, and I'm out.